The human war fleet moved through silent space like a shadow made of steel. Every ship held a cold blue glow at the engines, and the biggest one, the Vanguard of Dawn, led them all. It was a massive warship, strong enough to end battles on its own. The crew stood ready, calm but focused, as the ship crossed into the war zone. Nobody spoke unless they had to. Everyone knew something was wrong. This mission was not like the others. Dock Captain Rion Hale stood on the command deck, his hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the main screen. He had seen many fights, but today felt different. Even he could not explain the strange silence in his chest. A war zone should never be this quiet. There should be signals, explosions, distress calls, or at least enemy movement. But there was nothing. Only darkness and a strange pull from the center of the region, like something waiting for them inside. The screen showed the wrecks of alien ships drifting in the void. Some were sliced clean in half. Others looked burned from the inside out. There were no bodies, no escape pods, only empty shells. Rion felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The enemy they came to fight was already gone, but humans had not destroyed them. Someone else had. The crew noticed it too. Young officers exchanged nervous looks. Even the experienced soldiers kept checking their consoles again and again, hoping the sensors were simply broken. But the reading stayed the same. Dead ships, no signals, no movement. Commander Lyra, the ship's tactical officer, spoke in a low, steady voice. She always tried to sound calm for the crew, even when she was not. She told Captain Rion that the alien fleet showed signs of running, not fighting. Their ships faced away from the center of the war zone, as if they were fleeing something. But whatever they tried to escape from had caught them easily. Rion asked her if she detected any life signs or energy sources. She replied that there was only one energy signal, deep inside a swirling cloud of dark matter. It did not match any known weapon or technology. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. That made the crew even more uneasy. The fleet continued forward. Their engines echoed softly across the silent deck. Nobody dared to break the tension. Every meter they crossed felt heavier than the last. A few officers whispered theories. Some thought the enemy might have found a new weapon. Others believed it was a trap waiting for the humans. But most feared it was something much worse, something unknown. A new sound filled the ship, the long, steady hum of the shields powering up. The ship's artificial intelligence, Eva, activated them without being asked. Rion felt a deeper chill. Eva never did that unless she detected real danger. He asked her what she sensed. She answered that there were small changes in gravity around them, like invisible waves moving through space. She could not find the source, but she warned that the fleet should stay alert. Something was shifting in the darkness ahead. The fleet slowed down as they neared the center of the war zone. The dark matter cloud grew thicker, spinning in slow, unnatural circles. Light from the ship engine seemed to bend near it, as if the cloud was pulling it in. It looked calm, but behind the calmness was a feeling of something alive, something watching. Rion ordered all ships to hold position. His voice was steady, but his heartbeat was fast. The crew waited for instructions. They trusted him, but their fear was clear in their eyes. Nobody liked entering a place where entire fleets had vanished. Inside the dark cloud, something glowed faintly. Not bright, not clear, just enough to be seen. EVA zoomed in. The glow came from a large structure floating in the cloud, half covered by dark mist. It did not match any alien design. It looked ancient, smooth, and cold, like it had been here for thousands of years. Lyra whispered that she had never seen anything like it. Rion agreed. It was not a ship, not a station. It was something else. Something built long before humans even dreamed of reaching the stars. A soft vibration passed through the Vanguard of Dawn, then another, and another. The crew felt each one in their bones. The ancient structure was waking up. Suddenly, Eva announced that the structure had detected them. It was scanning the fleet, reading every ship like an open book. The crew felt exposed, unsafe, as if someone was staring directly into their minds. The structure released a low, rising tone that echoed through space. It was not a weapon sound. It was not communication either. It was something older, something that felt like a warning. The tone grew louder. The dark cloud around the structure started spinning faster. Gravity waves rippled outward. Panels across the ship shook. Lights flickered. Some crew members grabbed onto nearby rails. Rion ordered the fleet to activate all defenses. His voice was strong again. He refused to let fear control him. Whatever this ancient force was, humans would not run. They came here to protect their people, and they would face whatever waited in this darkness. As the ancient structure fully awakened, the Warzone finally revealed its secret, and humanity realized the real war had only just begun. The ancient structure inside the dark cloud continued to glow in slow, steady pulses. Each pulse sent a wave across space that made the human ships tremble. The crew of the Vanguard of Dawn held their breath, unsure if the next pulse would crush them or simply pass by. Even the strong metal walls of the ship felt thinner in this strange environment, like the structure was examining every atom. Captain Rian kept his eyes on the changing lights across the screens. He asked Eva if the pulses were harmful, but she said the structure was only observing them. It was not attacking. It was studying, listening, measuring. That answer made the crew even more uneasy. Weapons were easier to understand than curiosity. The fleet waited in silence, engines humming at low power. They stayed still, trying not to provoke whatever intelligence lived inside the ancient machine. The darkness around them felt heavier with each passing second, like the cloud itself was alive and watching. Commander Lyra spoke quietly to Rian, saying that she had found faint markings on the structure's surface. They looked like symbols carved deep into the metal. She thought they were some kind of language, but it was unlike anything known. Eva tried to translate it, but the symbols did not match any database. It was like trying to understand a message from a forgotten universe. Rian told her to keep analyzing. He needed answers. The fleet needed to understand what they were facing. Humans did not like mysteries in the middle of a war zone. As Eva zoomed in further, the markings began to shift. They rearranged themselves, moving like liquid metal. It was as if the structure was rewriting its own skin in real time. The crew watched in shock as the symbols formed a new pattern. Then the structure sent out another pulse, stronger than the last. This time the wave pushed the ships back, even though their engines were off. One of the smaller human ships drifted too close to the center of the cloud. The dark mist wrapped around it like smoke. The ship's hull changed color as the mist touched it, turning darker, almost burned. The crew of the Vanguard saw this and reacted instantly. The smallest ship tried to fire its engines to escape, but the mist tightened around it. Rian ordered the fleet to pull the trapped ship out with tractor beams. The beams joined together, forming a bright blue net. Slowly, they dragged the ship back through the cloud. When it finally broke free, half of its hull was damaged, not by weapons, but by something else, something that felt like time itself had aged the metal. The rescued ship reported that their systems had gone strange. Their clocks were all showing different times. Their navigation data was scrambled. Some parts of the ship felt weeks older, others seemed untouched. The crew inside was unharmed, but shaken. They said it felt like the mist was pulling them somewhere else, somewhere outside normal space. The bridge fell silent after that report. Nobody spoke. Nobody wanted to imagine what would have happened if the ship had gone deeper. Rian looked at Eva and asked if the structure was responsible. She said the dark cloud was reacting to the structure's pulses. The pulses might be disturbing space-time around them. If the structure kept increasing its power, the fleet might not be able to escape. The ancient glow inside the cloud brightened. The pulses became faster. It was waking up faster than expected. Rian knew they had to act before they were swallowed by whatever force was building in the center. He ordered the fleet to spread out in a defensive pattern. Humans fought best when they had room to move. The ship shifted into position, forming a protective ring around the Vanguard of Dawn. Turrets activated. Shields brightened. Engines warmed, ready for sudden action. But before they could move further, a new signal appeared on every screen. It was not from the structure. It was coming from somewhere outside the cloud. A faint energy signature, distant but growing closer. Lyra quickly enhanced the signal. It became clearer. It was a ship, a large one, and it was not human. For a moment, the crew thought it might be an enemy trying to ambush them. But as it came closer, they saw the ship was damaged. Burn marks covered its hull. Parts of it were missing. It moved slowly, almost struggling to stay alive. It was one of the enemy ships, the same species whose destroyed fleet the humans had found earlier. This survivor was limping toward the human ships, broadcasting a weak message. It was not a call for help. It was a warning. Eva translated it. The voice was shaky, filled with fear. The aliens said their people had tried to fight the ancient structure. They had attacked first, thinking it was only a sleeping machine. But the structure had awakened, and it erased their entire fleet in minutes. The survivor said they did not run, they were simply the last one left alive. Then the alien said something that made the whole bridge freeze. The structure was not alone. There were more of them, and they were coming. Before the alien ship could say anything else, The dark cloud reacted. A sharp wave of energy hit the alien ship. It broke apart silently, torn into dust. The humans watched the pieces drift into the dark mist. The war had just become something far bigger than anyone expected. The pieces of the destroyed alien ship floated silently into the dark cloud, disappearing one fragment at a time. The crew of the Vanguard of Dawn stared at the screens in disbelief. They had not fired. The fleet had not moved. The ancient structure had reacted on its own, like it wanted to silence the survivor before any more truth could escape. A heavy tension filled the ship. No one needed orders to understand the danger. If the structure could erase ships so easily, then humanity was facing something beyond normal war, something older, stronger, and not interested in peace. Captain Rian stood completely still. His calm face hid the storm inside his mind. He knew fear was rising in the crew. He felt it too, but he pushed it down. Humans survived by staying clear-headed, even when the universe tried to crush them. Commander Lyra broke the silence first. She said they needed to leave the war zone before more of those structures arrived. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed real worry. She reminded Rian that the alien survivor's message was not a threat. It was a warning. And if more of these ancient machines were on the way, the fleet might not survive. Rian understood her point, but he could not turn back so easily. Humans had come to protect the outer colonies. If they ran now, they would leave millions defenseless. The ancient structure might follow. Or worse, its arrival might trigger something unstoppable. They could not risk a blind retreat. Eva suddenly interrupted the discussion. She announced that another gravitational wave was forming, stronger than the others. The dark cloud began curling inward like a huge vortex, revealing more of the structure hidden inside. It was larger than the crew originally saw. Much larger. It extended deeper into the darkness, like an iceberg under the sea. Only a small part had been visible before. Now it opened like a massive eye. Metal plates shifted. Layers of ancient machinery slid apart. A bright core pulsed at the center, glowing with energy that looked almost alive. The fleet felt the vibration through their hulls. It was not a weapon preparing to fire. It felt more like a signal being sent across the stars. Rian asked Eva if the structure was communicating with something. She confirmed it. The core was releasing a long-range signal, the same kind the alien survivor mentioned. It was calling others. Calling more ancient structures from far away. A cold silence spread across the command deck. Everyone understood what that meant. Lyra said quietly that they were running out of time. Rian took a deep breath and finally gave the order. The fleet would not retreat, but they would reposition to a safer distance. They needed space to think, plan, and understand this threat before acting. Humans did not panic. They prepared. The ship slowly began to move backward, keeping weapons online. Engines glowed softly. Shields strengthened. The dark cloud twisted around them like a living storm. Annoyed that the humans dared to move away, then the unexpected happened. The ancient structure turned toward the fleet, not physically, but every sensor reading shifted. The energy flow inside the machine focused on the human ships. It was watching them again, measuring their reaction, studying their behavior, as if trying to decide what humans truly were. The core brightened. A new wave hit the fleet. This one was sharp, controlled, like a knife instead of a hammer. Consoles flickered. The ship's artificial gravity shivered. One of the smaller human frigates spun slightly before stabilizing. Eva announced that the structure was testing their defenses. Lyra whispered that it felt like the machine was learning from them. Rian clenched his jaw. The ancient machine had no right to judge humanity. Humans had earned their place in the galaxy through struggle, sacrifice, and growth. They would not be treated like insects under a microscope. He ordered the fleet to maintain formation and raise full power shields. If the structure wanted to test them, humans would show they could stand firm. The structure responded instantly. The dark cloud around it began to split apart, forming long, thin shapes that extended outward. They looked almost like arms made of swirling matter. Inside each one, tiny sparks of light formed patterns, like circuits being written in the air. EVA warned that the structure was creating extensions probes, tendrils, or weapons. She could not be certain. The energy readings were unlike anything she had recorded before. One of the tendrils reached toward the fleet, slowly, carefully, as if curious. The crew watched it move across the screens, glowing faintly with shifting symbols. It was not attacking. It was approaching like a stranger trying to touch something unknown. Rian ordered all ships to hold position. He did not want to start a fight they could not win. Humans had always survived by understanding their enemies first. But the tendril moved faster as it came closer. The symbols along its body flickered rapidly like excited thought. It reached out toward the vanguard of dawn, heading straight for the central deck. Eva warned that the tendril carried no heat, no radiation, no detectable matter. It was something else, something that did not fit the laws of the universe. The tendril touched the ship's shield. A shockwave burst across the fleet. Lights went out for 1 second. Just one. But in that 1 second, every human on every ship felt something impossible. A voice, not spoken, not heard, felt. A presence entered their minds, cold and ancient, curious, but not kind. It scanned their thoughts the same way it scanned their ships. It pushed deeper, searching for something: strength, weakness, purpose, identity. For a moment, every human mind resisted. Their thoughts fought back instinctively, like sparks of fire against a dark ocean. The presence withdrew suddenly. The tendril snapped back into the cloud. Eva announced something that chilled the entire fleet. The structure had finished its scan, and it now recognized humanity. The next pulse from the ancient machine was different, stronger, focused. It was preparing to respond. The ancient structure's next pulse struck the fleet like a silent wave. There was no sound, no explosion, no flash of light. Yet every ship felt the impact deep inside its systems. Screens vibrated, engines flickered, metal groaned like something heavy pressed against it. The humans stayed steady, but their hearts beat faster. Whatever the structure had learned from its brief touch inside their minds, it now used to change its behavior. Captain Rion held onto the railing as the deck trembled under his feet. He asked Eva to report the situation. She quickly responded, saying the pulse did not damage the ships directly. Instead, it was rewriting the space around them, warping gravity, shifting energy flow, and changing sensor readings. It was adjusting the battlefield itself. Commander Lyra explained that if the machine controlled the space around them, humans could not trust any readings. Distances might appear wrong. Directions might be bent. A fight under these conditions could turn deadly very fast. Rhea nodded, but did not order a retreat. He wanted to understand what the structure wanted. The presence they felt earlier had not been pure hostility. It had been curiosity mixed with a cold, distant intelligence. It was not attacking blindly. It was thinking. Another pulse spread outward, this one smaller, calmer. The dark cloud around the ancient structure began to settle, forming smoother shapes instead of violent storms. The glowing symbols on the tendrils rearranged again, more slowly, more deliberate. It felt like the machine was trying to communicate, even if humans could not understand its language. One of the smaller tendrils extended toward the fleet again, but this time it did not move like before. It was not curious. It looked hesitant, almost cautious, as if trying to approach without causing fear. The crew watched silently. Nobody fired. Nobody moved. Eva detected faint signals inside the tendril patterns that repeated like words. She tried decoding them, but they did not match any known language. Still, the structure was trying. It wanted something. Rian stepped forward, staring at the screen. He finally spoke, saying humans did not come to fight. They came to protect their people from danger. If this ancient intelligence understood anything, he hoped it would sense the truth in their stance. The tendril stopped moving. It floated a short distance from the fleet, glowing faintly. The symbols along its length brightened, then dimmed, like breathing. But before anything more could happen, a massive new signal burst across every sensor in the fleet. Another structure had arrived. It dropped out of hyperspace in a flash of deep blue light far behind the dark cloud. The arrival was so powerful that it shook every ship. The second structure was smaller than the first, but still enormous. Its surface carried different markings, sharper lines, brighter symbols, and a darker core. The first structure reacted instantly. The dark cloud blasted outward in a rapid wave, pushing the new arrival away. It was not a greeting. It was a threat. Eva explained that the two structures were not allies. Their energy patterns were clashing, like two old powers meeting after a long separation. The first structure's glow changed from calm white to harsh red. The second symbols turned bright blue. Space between them crackled with invisible force. The crew realized the horrifying truth. These ancient machines were not part of a single group. They were rivals, maybe even enemies. The survivor from the alien ship had said more of them were coming, but did not know that these machines might be fighting each other. Rian understood the danger immediately. Humans were caught right between two ancient forces that did not care about modern life. If they fought, the fleet would be erased in the crossfire. The second structure released a pulse of blue energy. It was sharper than anything the humans had seen. It cut through the dark cloud like a blade through smoke. It aimed directly at the first structure's core. The first structure responded with a massive red pulse that exploded outward. The shockwave hit the human fleet before Eva could warn them. Every ship shook violently. Sparks flew across several consoles. The lights dimmed for a moment. Some crew fell to the floor, but quickly got up. Reports came in fast. Shields weakened by 30%. Navigation scrambled again. Outer hull temperature rising. A few smaller ships lost power for several seconds. Rion grabbed the railing tighter. He shouted for Eva to stabilize the ship. She did. Slowly, the Vanguard of Dawn regained its balance. Outside, the two ancient structures exchanged more pulses, blue and red, fast and bright, tearing the dark cloud apart. The space between them twisted like a storm of raw energy. The humans were only observers now, forced to watch a fight between forces millions of years older. Lyra said in a low voice that if the fight continued, the entire region of space might collapse. Gravity waves were increasing. The dark mist was spinning into a vortex. The first structure seemed stronger, but the second was faster. The battle was not slowing down. Eva suddenly announced something alarming. A third signal was approaching. Another structure, but this one was different, much larger than the first two. Its energy signature was massive, and it was coming directly toward the center of the Warzone. Rion felt a deep, heavy fear for the first time. If three of these ancient powers clashed, the whole sector could be destroyed. He quickly ordered the fleet to move away from the center, engines at full power. Humans had seen enough. They needed distance. They needed safety. They needed to understand this threat from far away. But just as the ships began to turn, the first structure's tendrils shot forward again, this time far more urgently and wrapped around the Vanguard of Dawn's front shield. The crew froze. The ancient machine was holding them in place. Not as an enemy, but as if it wanted them to stay. As if it needed them. The tendril from the first structure tightened around the Vanguard of Dawn's shield, holding the ship in place with impossible strength. The human fleet continued to move away, but the flagship could not go anywhere. Captain Rion ordered the engines to full power, but the ship barely moved an inch. The tendril did not crush them. It simply refused to let go. Commander Lyra shouted that the other structures were getting closer. The blue mark machine was still attacking, sending fast pulses like blades. The first structure responded with wide waves of red energy. Each collision made space ripple violently. The third structure's energy signature grew stronger as it approached, heavier and deeper than anything they had felt before. Rion demanded Eva to analyze the tendril's purpose. Eva paused for a second longer than usual before answering. She said the structure was not harming the ship. It was protecting it, or more accurately, shielding it from the conflict between the two ancient machines fighting above them. The crew stared at the screens in disbelief. Protecting them? Why? Lyra said it made no sense. The structure scanned their minds earlier. It learned their thoughts. It knew their fears. It felt their strength. Maybe it had judged humans in that brief moment. But what conclusion had it reached? Why hold them now, at the center of the most dangerous fight this sector had ever seen? The fighting intensified. Blue and red pulses tore through the dark mist, lighting space with sharp flashes. The area shook again and again. The fleet continued to retreat, forming distance between themselves and the two battling giants. Only the Vanguard remained trapped, locked in place by the tendril's grip. Another pulse from the second structure cut across the darkness. This one was a direct strike, aimed at the first structure's core. The first machine responded with a shield of swirling metal plates, closing like a massive flower. The two energies clashed, bright and violent. A shockwave burst outward. It hit the Vanguard hard, even through the protective tendril. EVA warned that the next shockwave might cause real damage. The ancient machines were escalating. This battle was not just power against power, it was technology beyond human understanding. Rion's voice grew firm. He told the crew to stay calm, keep shields at maximum, and trust the systems. Humans were not fragile. They had survived worse odds before. He believed that whatever this ancient intelligence wanted, it did not want humans destroyed. The tendril reacted to the next pulse before it even arrived. Symbols along its body brightened, forming a shield of light around the Vanguard. When the shockwave hit, it split around the shield like water around a stone. The crew felt almost nothing. The ship held steady. Rion's eyes widened. This was no attack. This was a barrier. The first structure was protecting humanity from the others. But why? EVA suddenly reported new activity. The first structure's core brightened again, this time shifting from red to white. The glow spread through its tendrils. The dark cloud around it began to rotate in smooth circles, forming a stable pattern instead of chaotic storms. Lyra caught something unusual. The symbols across the first structure surface were changing again, shifting into tighter, more organized lines. Not random, not chaotic, purposeful. Eva translated fragments of these symbols. Only a few words, but they made the entire bridge freeze. Chosen, witness, stand. The ancient structure had decided something about humanity before the humans could process the message. The third structure finally arrived. Space twisted like melting glass as the largest machine emerged from hyperspace. The glow around it was so massive that it swallowed the stars behind it. Its surface was covered in markings that flowed like liquid metal. Its core shined with deep gold, almost like a dying sun trapped inside steel. The moment it appeared, both the first and second structure stopped fighting. Every tendril froze. Every pulse halted. Every glowing line paused. The entire region went silent, like the universe itself was holding its breath. The third structure sent out a single pulse. It was not loud or violent. It was soft, slow, like a heartbeat. But the moment it passed, Eva reported something impossible. The first and second structures' energy levels dropped sharply. As if they were bowing, the third machine was older, stronger, a leader among them. Rion stared at the screen. If the first structure protected them, what would this new ancient intelligence decide? The third structure's core shifted from gold to pale white. A single tendril extended, moving gracefully through the darkness. It headed straight for the vanguard of dawn. The crew felt their own pulse quicken as it approached. Eva could not analyze its energy. It was too deep, too old, too powerful. Rion told everyone to stand firm. Humans did not show weakness. Not now. The tendril stopped just in front of the vanguard. It did not touch the shield. It hovered there, glowing with a soft white light. Then something unusual happened. The first structure's tendril wrapped around the vanguard, tightened not to trap them, but to steady them, to brace them. The third structure released a new pulse. Not a weapon, not a scan, a signal. Eva gasped, a rare sound for an AI. She interpreted the message. The third structure wanted to speak, not to the ship, not to the AI, to a human, directly. It was calling Captain Rion. The air on the bridge grew cold and still. Rion felt a strange pressure in his mind, like a door waiting to open. The ancient intelligence wanted contact. But what happens when a human mind touches something millions of years older? There was no time to decide. The tendril's light grew brighter, and Rion felt himself being pulled inward, not physically, but mentally. The crew shouted his name as he staggered. The ancient intelligence reached for him, and the universe around him vanished. The bridge of the Victory Dawn was silent as the alien ship began to open. No one breathed. No one moved. Even the air felt heavy, like the universe itself was waiting to see what would happen next. Inside the glowing wound of the alien hull, a soft light appeared. Not harsh, not violent. It was a gentle, almost sad light. It spread through the dark void like a rising moon. The crew watched as a small pod drifted out. Smooth, slow, delicate. It looked more like an egg than a machine. Aroff stepped forward. Is it attacking? Celine shook her head. No weapons detected. It's empty. General Ross frowned. Empty? Why would they send an empty pod? Lyra quietly answered, maybe it is not empty. Maybe it is a message. Everyone stared at the pod as it floated closer. The ship's AI scanned it. A soft beep echoed around the bridge. No biological life. No explosives. No radiation, the AI said. Then it paused. But there is something else. Aroff felt a cold shiver go down his spine. What something? The AI replied, a single data crystal. General Ross looked at the others. Bring it aboard. Minutes later, the pod was opened inside a quarantine chamber. The data crystal sat in the center, glowing faintly. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyra recognized the color instantly. Her throat tightened. It is their memory stone, she said softly. My people use something similar. Celine gently picked it up. Let's see what's inside. When the crystal activated, the whole room filled with images, stars, planets, alien cities, tall, bright towers. Thousands of the enemy walking together, not as soldiers, but as families. Children with glowing eyes running through fields. Scientists building great machines. Artists painting endless colors in the sky. Humanity had expected monsters, but what they saw was a culture of people, A civilization, Celine whispered. They were not always like this. The images changed. A giant explosion. A dying star. A wave of radiation moving across their galaxy. Plants withered. Oceans darkened. Creatures screamed as their bodies twisted into new shapes. The enemy species changed to forced into survival mode. Their minds became sharper. Their society became ruthless. Their only goal became one thing: to live. General Ross lowered his head. They were pushed into war by the universe. Another image appeared, a small alien child, sitting alone beside a broken home. Its eyes were dim, like it had already given up. A final message echoed through the room. We fight because we do not know how to stop. We fight because we fear silence. We fight because we forgot who we were. The message ended. No one spoke. Arav felt his chest tighten painfully. He understood now. They wanted us to see this. They wanted someone to remember them. Celine nodded. Yes, this is not surrender. This is goodbye. General Ross stared at the crystal in her hand. Then why attack us? Why destroy colonies? Why strike first? Lyra answered quietly. They were lost. When beings lose themselves, they sometimes hurt the wrong people. For the first time since the war began, the Victory Dawn felt too small, too quiet. The crew stood inside the memory of an entire species, a species they had nearly erased. Arav whispered, we didn't destroy monsters. We destroyed people who were trying to survive. General Ross turned to face him. So what do we do now? The question hung in the air. Celine looked at the alien ship still drifting silently outside. Its lights were dimming, like it was falling asleep, like it had said everything it needed to say. She spoke softly. We honor their message, and we make sure something like this never happens again. But as she finished speaking, alarms began to blare. Red warnings lit up the bridge. Arav ran to the console. Something's happening inside the alien ship. Lyra stared at the screen and her eyes widened in fear. Their core is destabilizing. It's going to collapse. Arav whispered. Is it a self-destruct? No, Lyra said, shaking her head. It is the end. The very last life signs are fading. The ship is dying. Celine's voice trembled. We have to leave. Now. General Ross gave the order instantly. All hands prepare for emergency jump. The crew scrambled. Systems roared back to life. Engines charged. The ship vibrated as the jump core heated. But just before the light swallowed the Victory Dawn, Arav turned for one last look at the alien ship. It was glowing. Not with rage. Not with power, but with something that looked strangely like peace. The stars bent. The light flashed. And the Victory Dawn jumped away. Part 6 ends here. The final truth has been revealed. But the war is not fully over. The stars stretched back into place as the Victory Dawn came out of the emergency jump. For a moment, everything was peaceful. No alarms, no weapons, no voice is shouting. Just the soft hum of the engines and the quiet breathing of a tired crew. Arav leaned against the console, his heart still racing. Celine closed her eyes for a few seconds, letting the silence settle. Lyra watched the fading jump trail on the screen, her expression unreadable. General Ross finally spoke. Status? The AI replied softly, almost respectfully. No hostiles detected. No pursuit. The alien vessel has vanished from all known signals. A heavy silence followed. They had not just escaped a ship. They had escaped the final breath of an entire species. Arav stared out the window at the distant stars. It's over, isn't it? Celine didn't answer at first. She walked to the center of the bridge, looking around at her crew people who had survived something the rest of humanity would never fully understand. It's not over, she said quietly. Not for us. Lyra stepped forward. You mean the council? Celine nodded. They will ask questions. They will want proof. Some will demand victories, not stories. General Ross sighed. War always leaves people wanting easy answers or a turn toward them. But we have the truth. We saw their memories. We saw who they were. Ross looked at him. Yes, but some people don't want the truth. They want an enemy. Arav clenched his fists. He finally understood something important. War wasn't only fought with weapons. Sometimes it was fought with fear, pride, and ignorance. Lyra placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. We will make them understand, even if it takes time. A message alert suddenly flashed on the console. The council wanted an immediate report. Celine stared at the blinking symbol, but did not open it yet. Before we answer, she said softly, I need to know something. The crew waited. After everything we've seen, after the memories, After realizing we almost erased a lost people, her voice softened. Do you believe humanity should still be feared? Arav looked at her, then at Lyra, then at the stars. No, he said, humanity should not be feared. He took a deep breath. Humanity should be better. General Ross let out a slow exhale. Then that is what we tell them. Celine finally opened the message. The council's hologram appeared, cold and impatient. Victory Dawn, report. The lead counselor demanded, did you eliminate the enemy? Send the proof, and prepare for redeployment. Celine stepped forward, her voice calm and steady. There is no redeployment, she said. There is no enemy left. The counselors looked at each other in confusion. Ross spoke next. They are gone. Not because we destroyed them, but because they destroyed themselves trying to survive. Arav walked up beside them. His voice was steady, quiet, but strong. They left us a message, a final memory. They were never monsters. They were a broken civilization trying to hold on to life. Lyra continued softly. We must honor their last act, not bury it under reports of victory. The council went silent. After a long moment, the lead counselor asked, and what do you expect us to do with this information? Celine answered firmly, we learn from it. We change. We stop being the kind of species that only understands force. We choose to be better. No anger, no shouting, only truth. The counselors muttered among themselves. Arguments, confusion, doubt, and slowly, acceptance stopped finally. The hologram faded. Arav let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Do you think they'll listen? Celine smiled faintly. Some will. Enough will. Change always begins with a few. Lyra stepped closer to the window, gazing at the star where the alien ship had died. They wanted someone to remember them. She whispered. Arav joined her. We will. General Ross placed a hand over his heart. And we will make sure humanity never forgets what almost happened. The Victory Dawn continued drifting through space, quiet and solemn. Not as a weapon, not as a symbol of fear, but as a witness inside the ship's memory banks. The alien data crystal glowed softly, its light warm and gentle like a candle left burning for those who were gone. Arav felt a strange peace. Maybe this was what the aliens wanted all along. Someone to understand them, someone to hear them, someone to remember. He whispered into the quiet bridge, rest now. We carry your story, and as the Victory Dawn set course for home, the crew knew their mission had changed forever. The war was over, but the memory would live on.